All new episode of the 2 Minute Drill. I'm Jim Monaghan along with Chris Swendeman, and you'll notice neither one of us has a hat on tonight. What's up with that, Swendy?
Our timing is very sympathetic. We are very simpatico when it comes to that. But funny you mention it, Jim, because with the NFL draft this weekend, hold on. Thank you, Commissioner Goodell. I'll take my hat and officially be representing Bill's Mafia.
My hat's in the next room. I'm too lazy to go get it.
No,
Hey,
all right.
the big topic in New York sports this week was Devin Williams and what's been happening with him. He, of course, has had a couple of bad outings in recent days and was just demoted out of the closer role by Yankees manager Aaron Boone. And I was looking at something earlier today, Chris, on MLB Central, and Mark DeRosa threw this out, and I thought he would take it to the next level, and he didn't. And he said something to the effect of, maybe he's tipping his pitches. And I'm thinking, well, that might explain it. Because my first thought when I watched these last couple of outings that have just been abysmal was something along the lines of, he's hurt. There's a problem. But his velocity's down maybe 1 mile an hour. So that's not really it. But if you
Right.
think about it, last year, his big pitch, the one he got the most swings and misses on, was his changeup. It's a devastating changeup. It's been the highlight of the last 4 years or so of his career. And it's a reason why coming into this season, he had a career earned run average of something like 1.84. Now it's well into double digits right now. I think it's 11.25.
11.25, exactly.
Right.
Correct.
So I'm thinking like I went cherry picked a couple of games and I looked, the most recent one, which was just a disaster. I'm looking at it, and guys aren't swinging at his changeup, or if they are, they're getting base hits off of it. And the same thing with the previous bad outing. So I'm thinking now the Yankees are a lot smarter than I am. I'm not a pitching coach in real life. I play one for a high school team, but it could be as simple as, and you see this all the time. Guy has his glove, he reaches in, and there's the four seam fastball grip. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see this. So the glove is relatively closed.
Right.
You see the glove open up? I
Yep.
just switched to a changeup. So I go from here, right? Four seam fastball. See the glove move?
Yep.
Now I've got a curveball. So you see this a lot at the lower levels, and sometimes it's where a guy holds his glove. So if he's throwing a fastball, his glove is up a little higher. If he's going to throw an off-speed pitch, his glove is down. These guys, Chris, major league hitters are so far advanced. They've got all kinds of iPads and apps and different
Right.
things where they can check out video. It could be something as simple as that, because otherwise, how do you explain what's happened with him?
You don't. It's almost unfathomable. Like what's happened to him. This guy was unhittable, like you said, and now you're talking 11.25 and a 2.3 whip. I mean that you don't just fall off a cliff, and it's not age. He was injured last year, but came back and he was still his dominant self. So you're not telling me it's a lingering injury from last year. I'm not buying it. There's something in his mechanics that went wrong somewhere.
And again,
And
this,
I also think, oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, this goes back to the tipping the pitches, but you take it away.
But I was also going to say, it may be a minuscule part of it is also nerves, Jim, because now he's playing. Milwaukee and New York are very different markets. And there was a lot of pressure when the Yankees trade for you to be their guy. And the last real guy was that last one that wore 42, that Mariano guy. It's big holes to fill, and those are big shoes. And maybe he's feeling the pressure, and maybe his that throws off his mechanics. I'm not making I'm not making any case for him, but you got to think that could be part of the factor. And I mean, it's 1 month in, and there were some really big expectations when they got him. So maybe that's all playing. The mind is a terrible thing at times, and he could be dealing with some, just mental part of the game.
He is a free agent at the end of the season, and it was only about a month ago that Tim Britton in The Athletic said that if the Yankees wanted to keep him, and he is one of the elite closers, or was coming into this season,
Right.
they were going to have to look at something like 5 years and $80 million to extend Devin Williams out. Meanwhile, Yankee fans right now want to get rid of the guy, throw him out, get rid of him. I think he's way, way, way too valuable to do that. And I would not be the least bit surprised if we hear in the next couple of days we found something mechanically with him. He was tipping his pitches. Because you look at him, he has one strikeout in his last 5 appearances. One. And this is a guy over the course of his career who's averaging better than a strikeout an inning. So you know it's something. And again, it's not the velocity. So I don't think it's an arm injury. I think he's tipping it. And I wish DeRosa had gone into it more because he's so good at breaking down stuff like that. But he just kind of threw it out there and then they went off to something else. I think Lauren Shahadi's trip to Paris with her mom or something. I don't know.
Oh boy. Yeah, could have used an extra minute or two, maybe of DeRosa's, breakdown of it. But confidence is a funny thing. You can have it and you can be riding high, and then all of a sudden, much like the pitch, just drops off. And right now, I think his confidence isn't helping. He's not where he needs to be. And, everything starts to, fall off. So he's just got to build it back. And, I think maybe by June, July, we're having a much different conversation about him because the talent level is there, no doubt.
And, we were talking just last week about how Mets fans should maybe dial it back off Juan Soto a little bit. We don't need to be, booing him at every step of the way. Over his last 10 games, and that's including a 2-for-4 performance today, Monday afternoon, his batting average has gone from 221 to 257. And his on-base percentage has gone from 773 to 758. Now, he still has a ways to go, and he's not hitting home runs, and he's really not driving in runs yet. But can we just exhale a little bit? Because he's starting. You can see it. We talked about this last week. He is starting to come out of it. And within the next couple of weeks, the weather heats up, and so does Juan Soto.
The same with Lindor. Lindor started off slow, but Lindor has the pass because he's been there. And Met fans are already, they adore Lindor. Soto comes in with, again, we go back to the huge expectations. You sign a $700 million contract, any baseball fan probably wants you hitting home runs every time you're up. It's not sustainable. You have to give them time to adjust. He's in a different lineup, in a different ballpark. And, it's not Yankee Stadium where it is more forgiving for hitters, and he's going to need time. And same thing, give him some time, take a breath, and everything will be fine. And you're going to be having a much different conversation come July and August.
I get that batting average is not the be all and end all, but the guy has raised his average 36 points in the last 10 games. So I think we can all relax a little bit. In the meantime, on the 2-minute drill segment of the 2-minute drill podcast, I want to send you, sir, talking about the NFL draft and your thoughts on that. Senator, the floor is yours.
I have to give credit where credit is due. This will be the first and maybe only time you will hear me give congratulations to the New York Football Giants.
Whoa.
They absolutely crushed this draft. In a draft that looks like GM Joe Shane and their head coach both need to save their jobs, they built a future for this franchise. They didn't worry about put a Band-Aid on it and, let's worry about that next year. Let's kick the can down. They found a way to fill all the holes and do all the important things without sacrificing for the future. And you know what? Credit to Joe Shane for doing that, because he could have very easily gone the quickie route and tried to make it so they have a decent season. He invested in players like Abdul for Penn State and Jackson Dart. Players that are going to be here for the now and the future. And I think they did a great job. And another team that did great in the draft, the New York Jets. I think the New York Jets would be talked about even more if they weren't in the same town as the New York Giants right now. Because telling you, They absolutely had a great draft as well. Not sexy, but you know what? They needed to shore up that offensive line, and they did that. They got a monster in the first round. They go out and get a tight end in the second round. Great draft strategy. They got some great pieces as well. And both the Jets and Giants are setting themselves up well for a bright, bright future for football in New York, which has been something that has been much needed for a very long time in this town.
Look at you doing that right there on the 2 minute mark. What'd you think of the whole thing with Sanders? How bizarre
I
was that?
it's an absolute train wreck. And you know what? The NFL has a way of humbling people. And I think Shador and Dad needed that a little bit. And you know what? I don't think it's anything more than, if he really had first round talent, there would have been an NFL team to take him in the first round. I'm sorry. He is not as good as he portrays himself to be. And any GM that was desperate for a quarterback would have taken him well before the fifth round. But you know what? He is what he is. And right now, his contract is going to be graded out for a fifth round quarterback. You want to show everybody wrong? Get on the field, stop yapping, and start acting like an NFL quarterback, because now is your time to shine, or you're going to sink or swim. And you know what? Good luck in Cleveland, because you're going to need it.
Before we wrap things up, I did want to say, and you and I were talking before we came on, I did want to mention the Nick at Detroit Pistons game on Sunday afternoon. The last 8 minutes of that game, and I find the last few minutes of any NBA game almost unwatchable. It's just painful to watch. But the last 8 minutes or so of that Knicks Pistons game yesterday was incredible. I understand why not every game can be like that, but just back and forth, one three-pointer after another, great defense. And I get the non-call at the end. We all understand, what went on there. And who knows if he would have made the shot. But if there was a way,
and it was a physical game.
Very physical. And that was not the only example of a time where the officials let them play. For all those times where you get these ticky-tack
100%.
fouls, and again, you get the timeouts and all of the nonsense that goes on, the fouls that get called because guys are grabbing, they're trying to extend things. For as unwatchable as many NBA games can be, I thought the Knicks and the Pistons put on an amazing show on Sunday.
They did. The NBA is having quite the resurgence in the first round of the playoffs, and the Knicks Pistons are leading the way. I mean, this is old school NBA fun to watch. And the night before, the Clippers and the Nuggets. The Nuggets won with an amazing last second shot. That was another game. It was back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. There are a lot of good series in these first round matchups. But even me, as somebody who is not a Knicks fan by any means, this is an exciting team to watch. And they're a lot of fun. And, they paid up to get people like Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns. And you know what? They're paying dividends now. They may have been questionable during the season, but you look at this playoff series, they would not be where they are against a tough Detroit team without all these guys. And they're playing as a team, as a cohesive unit. And, say what you want about Tibbs as their coach. He's got the motor in right now.
And that's another 2 Minute Drill podcast for you. Download, like, subscribe, do all that stuff that you're supposed to do with these podcasts.
All the things.
What do you say? Next week, we'll take another look and see what Juan Soto's batting average has done and his OPS and slugging percentage. We'll see what he's done in the last week or so. Thanks, Swendeman. We'll talk again next week.
You got it. Have a great week, Jim.